Welcome to the admin panel of the GPSWOX platform. Now I'll show you how to use this system, the admin panel, how to add users, and how to configure the GPS server. Once you're logged in, you are taken to the login screen and the main window where you can view the users and edit them. On the bottom left side, you will see the name of the server, the IP of your server. Usually, this is the IP that has to be configured to the GPS trackers. This is the version, amount of objects limited, and the last update. I will show you each of the steps on how to control everything. First off, add new user, add new device, import devices. If you have a large list of import devices, it would be best to use this button to add them. Import geofences if you have a lot of them, and import points of interest. That will also be imported into the map. So let's create a new user. Click new user. Here you have to type in the email of the person. Then we assign a group to them. We have admin, manager, and user. The admin can view everything on the system and edit everything on the system. Also, admins can see one another. Manager level. If you create a manager, he can only view and edit the users assigned to them and also the users that he creates himself. He will not be able to view other managers and the users of other managers. The user role can only view the objects assigned to him. He will not have access to the admin panel at all. Then we can select the available maps that the customer can use. Also, you can set the device limit and the expiration date on when the account will be disabled, and then the password on the bottom. Then we go into permissions. Here you can select a specific plan to the person, and you can individually select which access rights he has. For example, you can remove alerts that he cannot see them or edit them, the history, anything that you require. Objects tab. If you have a lot of objects already created and you would like to share it with specific users, once creating a new user, this is where you will assign devices that he will be able to view. Going into objects list, this is where you can select how the person can view the objects itself. Now going into objects panel. To add a device, it's exactly the same as a user would be adding it in the system. Click new device, assign a user that will be assigned to the device. You can have one or few devices assigned to specific users and all of them will see the device. Everything as before, type in the name of the device and then the device IMEI or tracker ID. Select the icon, type in the advanced information. You can assign a sensor group to the device. You don't have to create a new sensor group for each device. You can just create a sensor group and assign the same group to each of the devices. Accuracy, tail, and services, everything is exactly the same as adding an object from the regular map. On the top you will see the filters such as IMEI, online, last connection, and so on. If you click it, it will be assigned in alphabetical order or non-alphabetical. You can type in also the name and view the device or the user ID. You can edit or delete them and view the pages of all the trackers in your system. Going into events, Basically, it's the same thing as the user perspective. If you click on setup and events, it's going to look exactly the same. It's the same, except that the only difference is you can set these globally, meaning that all of the users will be able to assign them. Content. This is where you'll be able to add icons, for example, point of interest icons, something that you like and you're going to use in the system. This is where they will be automatically updated into the software, and your client will be able to use them when he's creating the sensor device and so on. Map icons is exactly the same. All of your point of interest icons will be here. You can delete them or add them. SMS template is something that you're going to create when you're using the command or the notification. This is where you have to set up the email templates, the SMS templates. Email templates and both the SMS templates are similar, but they're used for different purposes. Just click on Tools, Edit. This is where you'll be able to edit the template, change the name, change the information received, everything is gonna come up here. This is gonna be whenever a specific event comes up or service expires, like technical maintenance, all change anything in regard. This is where you will be able to stylize and edit all the information received here. This is gonna change both the emails, both the SMS commands. Now going into logs. For example, we select tracker server logs. This is where we're going to see the tracking service logs. This is where we'll be able to edit the information that comes from the tracker to the server. If you want to see more information than it is shown on the website, or rather the platform, this is where you will check the log to make sure you see all the parameters, all the information sent to our server. This is where you'll be able to download them and then view the information inside the log. Of course, they are quite heavy on the size, and if you have a lot of devices, it's going to take up a lot of time, a lot of space, and this is where you can delete them. As you can see, .gz is not the today's log, but this is something that is from the past and is going to be compressed to take up less space. Unregistered devices log is where you will be able to see all of the devices that are not registered. If you set up your GPS tracker to send data to our server, but that device is not anywhere on the system, this is where you're going to see the information. A device that sends data, but it's not configured to be shown on the service itself. This happens when the manufacturer has a tracker, for example, that does not send IMEI number. It only has an internal ID number, and it's going to send this to the server, but it's not going to show the IMEI number. And you don't know what that device is. You don't know what the information is coming from. So this is where you would require to see the information here. You would download the log, see the identification number, and then can assign this device to a specific account or user. Or if you are configuring a large amount of devices and there's a tracker that you missed, this is where you're gonna see it. Going into setup, it has email, mail service settings, user, tracking ports, languages, blocked IPs, tools, plugins, and sensor groups. Begin from the top, email. This is where you can configure how emails are sent when for example, a new alert is created. By default, an email will be sent using the main internal server email address. This is where you can type in your data and select a specific provider if it's not the internal service one. or you can use an external SMTP server one to use that particular server to send the SMS, or rather the emails. You can use these, for example, SendGrid, Postmark, and so on. If you select these, you will require to input the API key and then save it, and then all of your emails will be sent not from the server itself but from SendGrid, for example, and you're going to receive a test email as required to make sure that everything works correctly or the email is not blocked or anything of that sort. Going into main server settings, these are the main server settings. Is showing business demo because that's where I'm showing the information from. This is where it's going to be shown on the bottom or your browser. These are the default settings, so you can change the default features and it was going to be reflected globally. You can select the default language, date format, time format, formats, and so on. Default object online timeout. This is a parameter where the device is going to show as offline if not moving for a specific amount of time. It shows how much time has to pass for the device to become offline. Default is 5 minutes. But you can change this information as required. The default map is the map that the client is going to see. Map zoom level is going to show how much zoomed in to a specific location is going to be upon the first login. Maybe you want the client to see a specific object, a place, or just a whole map from the get-go. And this is where it's going to center on that specific location on the default location of the map once logged in. Geocoder API. You can use this by default or you can use a specific API. What this is doing is creating specific coordinates into an address. Because we have Google Maps or different geocoders, you can just use it by default. But if it's not correct to you and you want to have something specific, this is where you would change that. This is used when a specific address is not displayed correctly and you know that your local map provider is going to show better data than, for example, Google Maps. This is where you will change it. You'll need to type in the API key and just use it. Geocoder cache means that all the data received is going to be cached in the local server, and this will reduce the inquiries amount. For example, to Google Maps, it's just going to be saved on the server, and the performance of the server is going to be a lot faster than contacting Google, for example, each time of the inquiry. And of course, you can select how many days the Google cache, for example, is going to be saved in. Default is 90 days, and you of course can delete the cache. Then we go into the server styling, the background, the templates, the logo, and so on. This is where you can select the template of the server itself. If you have a logo that is, for example, dark orange, you will need dark orange, light green is light green, and so on. For example, light orange is going to show, as you can see, the buttons on the left side. Or you can try dark blue and the whole template is going to change. And basically in real time, you can change and view what this is going to look like. This is where you can assign the front page logo, favicon. Clicking the button here, you can upload whatever you like from your computer. Page logo and background is also the same. As soon as it is uploaded, it will be seen on the login screen. Everything will be seen here. You can change your welcome text, you can change everything. You can have a link to your specific mobile applications and so on. You can see the information text on the bottom. This is where you can change it. Your welcome text also goes here. And Apple Store links and Google Play links to go to your specific mobile apps, for example. That is if you don't want to use the default one. And clicking on the top right side of the screen, you can log out or you can restart your tracking server. This is going to restart the tracking server, for example, if specific devices are stuck or something in that matter. Moving on to setup and then user. This is where you can enable or disable registration for specific users and also set up the payment plans for the person. Allow registration, yes or no. Enable plans or disable. Default billing plan. On the billing gateway side, you can select the ones from the list that are available. Type in the details required for the gateway, and all of the gateway payments will be made to your account. On the bottom side, you can create the plans and also edit permissions to the plans so they can edit, see, or view the objects or not. For example, we have a 1-year plan. It can be either visible or invisible. Title yearly, price $9.99. The price has to be inputted without anything after the dot. The objects, the duration, selected by years, months, or days, and the permissions that are allowed to be either viewed, edited, or deleted. Moving on to tracking ports. This is where you will see the default port numbers for the devices assigned to the system. For example, if you're moving from a different platform and you were using something different for the port number for this specific device, you don't want to reconfigure the device. For example, you had a GPS 103 and it was sending the port number 2000. For you not to have to check each tracker, you can just select the port number and change it to 2000 from 6001. Once the number is changed here, the device will send the information to the server, and this is where you're going to see it. By default, all you have to do is change the port number here and just click save. After the port numbers are edited, you must click the refresh button. What this does, it's just simply refreshes the tracking service configuration, and it's just going to restart the system with the newly assigned port numbers. Only then will it start receiving the data to the specific port. Otherwise, it's just not gonna work. Setup languages. These are all the languages available in the system, meaning user can select one of these languages. If you click on edit, you can change the name of the language, make it active or not active, and select the flag from the ones on the list. If you wish to translate the file, you will need to click on the gears and then click translate. This is where you will see the original language and the current language. Here you can translate everything in the system and all of the texts that are in the platform. This can be the front-end translations, admin translations, and so on. Moving on, blocked IP addresses. This is just a list of the addresses that you can block and they will not be able to access your system. Just click add, type in the IP address, click save, that's it, the person is blocked from the system. Going into tools. This is where you will be able to select when the backup data is done and how often the database is cleared. They will be done to the FTP server that you will need to type in the data and just select the period and the hour at which the backup copies will be made. Once that is done, you can click save and it will be corrected. If you click test FTP, it will try and do a test upload to the specific server you typed in, and you will see whether this is uploaded to your server and if it works or not. Devices history data cleanup means how long the data is kept in the system. The longer the period that you keep it, the more space it's going to collect. So we recommend about 90 days is the optimal current database time. Everything else you should just set up to clear up and make backend copies into the FTP server. Set up plugins. This is where you will be able to enable or disable specific plugins. If you activate them or disable them, you will have specific functions appear or disappear from the server. For example, if you want to know what this means and how to control them, you will need to go into the GPSWOX webpage, manual, and then plugins. Click here, and this is going to show you a full list of plugins available in the system, what it does, and how to enable or disable it. Moving into setup sensor groups. As mentioned earlier, just so you don't have to set up a specific sensor for each device previously. For example, if you're using 100 of them and they have the same sensors, to save your time and not have to be able to create the device sensors, you can just create them here and then assign to the particular device.